So, here's a question that no one really asked. What happens if you want to play Animal Crossing on the Nintendo 64? Ha! Wait a minute. Everyone knows that Animal Crossing was originally released for the GameCube, not the Nintendo 64. This is just a bunch of baloney. You're lying. Well, you're half right and half wrong. Now, yes, Animal Crossing was released on the Nintendo GameCube for here in North America and essentially the rest of the world, I believe. But originally, Animal Crossing was developed and, well, released for the Nintendo 64. But I really wouldn't be surprised if you guys didn't know that, so here's a quick history lesson. So back in the early years of 1999, the Nintendo 64DD, or 64DD for short, was released in Japan as, well, you guessed it, a Nintendo 64 add-on. But if you don't know what the 64DD really was, well, I really don't blame you. But here's a quick rundown. In 1996, Nintendo revealed a Nintendo 64 peripheral that allowed the user to use magnetic disc instead of the standard N64 cartridges for the N64. But most of you are probably asking, well, what does this have to do with Animal Crossing? Well, one of the many features for the 64DD add-on was, well, it had an internal built-in clock, which if you played any kind of Animal Crossing game, most of you will probably know that the clock is a key component of what makes Animal Crossing, well, Animal Crossing. So, in 2001, Dobutsu no More, Animal Forest, or Animal Crossing for us North Americans, and probably the rest of the world I guess, was developed as a game for the 64DD. But during that same year, the 64DD was discontinued on February 28, 2001. But Nintendo had essentially developed the entire game of Animal Crossing for the 64DD, so if you were them, what would you do? Obviously, you just slap into a standard N64 cartridge, install the battery powered clock, and boom bam bob, you got yourself a successful Nintendo franchise. So, finally, on April 14th, 2001, Dobutsu no More, or Animal Forest for us English speakers, was finally released as a standard normal N64 game. And despite the N64 being at the end of its lifespan, the game actually did pretty well in Japan, especially since the Nintendo GameCube was just going to be released a couple months later. But due to the fact that the N64 was at the end of its lifespan, we actually never got an N64 North American release here in the US, which is fine. It's not like this is... It's fine. It's fine. It's not fine. But since Nintendo had to cram the entire game of Animal Crossing into a normal N64 cartridge, which doesn't have a lot of space to begin with, a lot of things were cut from the final release. The major ones being the museum and the Able Sisters, and some house expansions, and some fish and bugs. But wait! There's more! Just a literal 8 months later, like exactly 8 months later, we actually got Dobutsu no More Plus released for the Nintendo GameCube on December 14, 2001 in Japan, which actually did utilize the Nintendo GameCube's built-in clock and adding in all the original content from the original version of the game, which we never got. But for the rest of the world, if you want to know, it just meant we got Animal Crossing population growing for the Nintendo GameCube, so that's cool. But we're actually not going to be taking a look or playing any of those original games. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a reproduction of the original Animal Crossing that was released on the N64 back in Japan. Except this one has been mostly translated from Japanese to full-on English. So let's fire up Roll N64 and see what this thing does. So when first starting up the game, you're greeted with KK Slider telling you that the internal clock is wrong, and then please take a look at your Animal Forest instruction manual. What am I supposed to do? After setting up the time and date, you're then again greeted by KK Slider, but really it's just the game starting out normally if you didn't have any problems with the clock in the first place. Like the GameCube version, he just talks to you about moving out, seeing the world, and some other crap that I honestly don't know because I was just mashing the A button to skip all the text. You then find yourself waking up on a train ride and then seeing a complete stranger walking up to you to ask if he has the correct time and date. He then has the audacity to ask to sit next to you and then, wait a minute. Wait a minute! You don't just ask to sit next to someone by reassuring them that you won't fall asleep and accidentally drool on over their shirt to only sit across from them. That just ruins the entire point of asking to sit next to someone, and this man shouldn't be trusted! After asking for your name, this is where the game gets kind of weird, I suppose. So instead of having the normal quirky keyboard of the GameCube version, we actually have this rotary style letter system that actually works kind of well, to be honest. So, get this. You use the quote-unquote thumbstick to select your letter, and then you actually hold down to move the, I guess, wheel of letters to a different set of letters, and you can just continue this process until you type out your name. Then, after typing your name, my guy is Guy 34. That being, we don't talk about the other, 33 guys before me. After saying goodbye to our new friend that we just met on a train, we then arrive into our new home in town. We are then meted by the evil Tom Nook. He then forces you to choose a 4x4 tile house or something like that, and he then forces you to sign the non-existent dotted line, and then you're met with the extremely high and unreachable price of 19,800 bells. Sorry, something got stuck in my throat. Once he finds out that you don't have enough bells to pay off your house, he then just gives you a part-time job at the local town shop called Nooks and Crannies. Okay, hang on. I gotta get real for a second. Okay, so I want to get this straight. Now, yes, most people when they first start the game, when they start out their part-time job at Nooks and Crannies, they probably are annoyed and just kind of irritated that they have to start working instead of actually playing the game. But I'm just sitting here amazed that this literal unsupervised child just got a job without sending in an application, a resume, or just really doing anything, just immediately gets a job after just essentially getting a free house and just what? Now yes, this really is just a tutorial for the player to get used to the controls and the menus and just the overall how the game works in general, and that's fine. It's just that I don't know. I just want to rant about something for a second. I'm okay. I swear. I'm just really tired. After changing into your very stylish uniform, Tom Nook just gives you a bunch of different kinds of tasks to complete. And honestly, I just really use this time to explore my town, meet the other villagers at the town, just mess around with other things. And honestly, it's been pretty fun so far. Now, granted, this isn't that great of an Animal Crossing game, mainly because it's missing a lot of the charm and features of the GameCube version, so there's that. But it doesn't mean it's a bad game. It still works and plays essentially like the GameCube version, but it's not. But for $25 that I spent on this, it's kind of worth the price, but honestly, I would just buy the GameCube version for nearly the same price, if not cheaper. Really, the only way I could recommend this version of the game is if you have an N64 and only an N64, and you really want to play Animal Crossing. That's really about it, I suppose. Now, overall, as the very first Animal Crossing game that was really ever made, the N64 version of Animal Crossing honestly really isn't that good, to be honest. Now, granted, yes, I kind of have a somewhat buggy version of a translated version of the original N64 Animal Crossing game, but even though if I had the original one and I can actually understand Japanese, which I'm kind of disappointed I don't, to be honest, this game probably wouldn't hold up that well. Now, granted, yes, as the very first Animal Crossing game that was really ever made, this did indeed lay the foundation of really the entire Animal Crossing franchise, and we must give respect to that. But honestly, it still doesn't really hold up that well compared to newer and more modern Animal Crossing games, and hell, even the original GameCube version. This game just doesn't hold up that well, and really almost any newer Animal Crossing game is just honestly better than this version of it. Ah! Demon Child!